session, because in this next session, we're going to bring you the benchmark of great enduring organizations. We're going to have a journey through the foundations, the governance, and the principles that are used by organizations that apply technology to accelerate value creation in their organizations most effectively and most efficiently. And we're going to look a bit under the hood of technology. So some of our sessions are very focused on the technology itself of process mining. We already had a couple of those. I want to get to a higher level now, where we look at organizations and governance and culture that allows for these technologies to be, again, implemented effectively to create the most value in the shortest time and simplest means. So let's change hats here momentarily, and as we become connected workers in this journey. So let me make sure that you are getting my feed. Wonderful, and you already have my presentation showing for you. And this is about intelligent business process automation, how great enduring organizations scale their people, their technology, and value creation for all stakeholders. So let's dive into this, and let's first set the stage that none of the things that I'm going to discuss here are theories. This is 100% based on empirical evidence and experimentation done with tremendous organizations for more than 25 years across all industries. And these organizations are the foundation for the concepts, the principles, the mechanisms that we're going to discuss here with you today. Now, it doesn't mean that each one of these organizations is a great enduring organization and it's going to last forever. Greatness can be fleeting. We'll talk about the principles that allow them to be great in certain areas, in certain departments, sometimes across the organization over a period of time. But greatness is not guaranteed if you do not keep those principles on an ongoing basis. And we're going to be looking at here are those stretches of greatness where they achieve and sustain the greatness, and what it look like from a process perspective. What does it look like from a value creation and innovation perspective? So I'm going to ask you to do an exercise, a mental exercise first. I want you to go back in your own experiences. Several of you have multiple decades of experience across multiple industries implementing improvements and innovations at scale. My question to you is, what do you think that matters most when you look back at that journey? And you look not at the theory, but at the evidence and the results that you had during that journey. Whether it were good results or bad results, what matter most to you? Go ahead and put on the questions box right now, please. Type in the questions box what matter most in that journey of innovation, of improvement, of value creation in your organizations. Was it about ideas? Was it methods? Was it technologies? Or what is it about the people that were part of that journey? So go ahead, type that under the questions box. Is it ideas, methods, technologies, and people? Now, as we discuss this, I'm going to go over each one of these components in the journey of these great enduring organizations, and there is the right answer for this, okay? But I'll say that ideas are very, very important, because you need new ideas. You need to have different perspectives of problems. You need fresh ideas in the organization. You need ideas that create value. But I will also say that ideas are everywhere. And what really uncommon are people in your organization who are willing to put their reputation behind those ideas. Then I'll talk about methods. We have heard about methods already in this conference. Methods are very important because they provide a disciplined framework for execution. Now, you can talk about Lean, you can talk about Six Sigma, you can talk about Agile and Scrum, and all different types of methods. Listen, I have been for nearly 3 decades a certified Lean Six Sigma Master Black Belt. But for most people, that sounds like a dangerous mental condition. It doesn't help them. So methods are important, but we have to remember methods alone do not transform businesses. People do. Okay, I got it, José. So it must be about technologies, right? Because as a matter of fact, this conference is about process mining and process intelligence and intelligent automation. So exponential technologies that are reshaping the way we work and the way we live. And we all know that the right technologies can enable our key processes to be better, faster, cheaper. That's wonderful, create a lot of value. But we also know that the wrong technologies or the technologies without the right foundation can make stupid happen at the speed of light. And we don't want that. So it must be about people then. People is the ultimate answer because people are our most valuable assets, right? Well, remember, this is not a theoretical exercise. This is the benchmark and evidence of great enduring organizations. And what we actually have seen is that while organizations talk about people being their most important asset, when there is a crisis, the assets typically stay there and the people go. So it's not a romantic view of people. It's a practical, honest view of people in the organization. And the reality is that all people matter, but there are the right people in your organization that matter most, because those right people, they scale value creation for the organization. They scale the values of the organization, the principles of the organization that allow the organization to prosper and grow. So it's about finding the right people in your organization that will allow you to scale excellence, to scale innovation, to scale value creation for you in this journey. So this is very confusing because everything that I've said so far seems like one big contradiction. Well, the world of greatness is filled with contradictions, forces that pull in very different directions. We'll talk about the importance of purpose and discipline. We'll talk about the importance of these exponential technologies and human values and collaboration and vulnerability and leadership. And we'll talk about the need for excellence and innovation. Because a very common mistake that organizations do is that they think that they should choose one over the other. Mediocre organizations, they believe that they have to make these choices. Great enduring organizations realize that the world of greatness is an and world with forces pulling in different directions, and the best solutions are often in the intelligent blending of these forces that pull in very different directions. They don't spend endless hours choosing between one or the other. They realize it's often the blend of both that create great enduring performance. So when it comes to excellence and innovation, let go of the feeling, of the thought or feeling that, I gotta be most excellent. Because if you do that, you may be good but never great. Because if you are just excellent and you set high performance standards and you meet and even exceed those performance standards, if you develop just excellence without innovation, over time you will become obsolete no matter what industry you're on. The flip side is also true. The most innovative organizations in the world are not the dominant organizations in their industry and the great enduring organizations in their industries, because they tend to fall in love with innovation and technology for its own sake. And they are not consistent with their purpose over time. So the most excellent innovations will never be great. The most innovative organizations will never be great unless they are able to scale their innovation better than their competitors can. And the way that great enduring organizations scale their innovation is by applying the principles of excellence to the innovation that they create. So keep this in mind. Great enduring organizations have the intelligent blend of excellence and innovation that's appropriate for their business models to have great enduring performance. Now, it's very interesting that I talked to you about the benchmark of 100 plus organizations across all these different industries, but it's even more interesting when I can share you some insights that come from being a leader of excellence and innovation acceleration within large corporations. And I'll briefly share the lessons from each one of these corporations in times over which they were great. It doesn't mean that they're great today or they will be great in the future, because greatness is not captive. Greatness needs, you have to maintain those principles throughout your organization, which is incredibly hard. The ultimate definition of discipline in any organization is consistency with your purpose. And unfortunately, organizations have chronic attention deficit disorder, and they lose focus on their purpose. They lose the directional guidance that's created by their purpose quite often, for many different reasons that we're not going to address here. But I want to encapsulate this by saying that the ultimate definition of discipline is consistency with purpose, and you must be consistent with your purpose to be successful in this journey. So snapshots of success from each one of those organizations where I led this journey for a period of time. Started my career at Sony Electronics, both in the United States and Japan. And the lesson from Sony was very simple. Joined Sony in a time where they were the technology leaders in the world. And the lesson from that period of greatness is very simple. Real innovators in your organization, the real leaders of intelligent automation and process mining in your organization are not typically who you think they should be. Because listen, anybody can do a process mining application here, save $1 million there. I'm talking about doing this over a period of 5-10 years, delivering not millions of dollars, but billions in value creation, in financially validated value creation, creating a system that scales innovation at very large levels. Now, the lesson from Sony is very simple. The people who you think are the innovators and the scalers of innovation in your organization, they can only be identified by the test of innovation execution, which means that, you know, innovation doesn't care about your gender, your race, your ethnicity, or how many certificates you have hanging on the I love myself wall. When it comes to real innovation for value creation, there are 4 traits that show up in these individuals in the organization. And these 4 traits, you don't find them on resumes. You don't find them on diplomas. You find them on a meritocracy of ideas with clear execution mechanisms, and they are revealed by the test of innovation execution. So the traits that are revealed by the test of innovation execution, real innovators have these 4 traits. They have purpose alignment. Whatever it is that they do aligns with the purpose of the organization that they work for. This is a major source for employee dissatisfaction organizations, because most people don't have aligned purpose with their organizations. They are making a living most often, but they are not aligned with the purpose of the organization because it's either unclear or their own purpose is unclear, and there is a misalignment between their purpose and the purpose of the organization. So there's a natural alignment in these individuals between their purpose individually in the purpose of the organization. But that's not enough. That has to be filled. They are fueled by tremendous levels of passion for what they do. And this passion is a lot more like an arranged marriage than romanticized love. It is about working your face off on something, becoming good at it, and developing a passion for it over time. They have purpose, they have passion, they have discipline to follow up on that passion. And discipline, again, is not following a regimented set of rules. Discipline is consistency with your purpose. And follow that passion and discipline with tremendous levels of resilience. And resilience is not being stubborn and never giving up. Resilience is about understanding the challenges, having a purpose that's worthwhile, and overcoming those challenges collaboratively. It means that you engage with your resistance, you collaborate with your resistance to overcome the challenges. And only if you're not able to collaboratively overcome the challenges that you then pivot and take the longer road. And you need to be resilient to go on that longer road towards your purpose, towards your directional guidance. So remember this: the traits that you're looking for professionals to scale intelligent automation for value creation in your organization are different from what most people think. They are purpose alignment, passion, discipline, and resilience. You're not interested in someone who wants to become the chief digital officer in the organization. You are interested in someone who wants to see this as a journey that never ends for them, that they have this passion, discipline, and resilience around intelligent automation in your organization, and they will do this forever. If they happen to become the CEO in that journey, that's fine. But that's an outcome, that's not the goal. It's about innovation and intelligent automation for value creation journey that they are really immersed on. Now, when I left Sony, I joined a startup in the semiconductor industry that changed the world. Cymer ASML developed laser technologies that allow Moore's law to exist today in the semiconductor industry, which means that we double the number of circuits per unit area in a semiconductor wafer every 18 months or so. This has allowed all other technologies to grow exponentially. It's the baseline technology in semiconductors that allow everything else in technology to happen today and into the future. Now, this company was a very successful startup, but it was very unsuccessful to start with. Why? Because they got the most intelligent people in the world in the same room, and they spent all their time trying to prove to each other that who was the smartest guy or girl in the room. They did not have concepts and techniques for collaborative leadership. And collaborative leadership is a lesson that I want to share with you here. It's not enough to just get the most intelligent people in the room to do these applications. These people, they can do 1 or 2 or 3 or maybe 10 or 20. They cannot be 1,000 or 2,000 per year, because they need to collaborate effectively towards a common purpose. And the hallmark of collaborative leadership is that you have to surround yourself with people with very different perspectives. And they have to feel comfortable to disagree with you as a leader without fear of retaliation. That's a hallmark of collaborative leadership. There are methods and techniques that go with that. But for you to be a great enduring organization and leader, you must develop and refine your collaborative leadership skills. And this is a discipline. It's not just wishy-washy consensus building, we get along. It's much more than that. There is a discipline to collaborative leadership that's not well understood, that you must understand to develop that in your organization and in your leadership, personal leadership style, and your organizational leadership development. Now, to accelerate this, and Nestle, this became the application of a lot of these principles. Now you're an organization with 350,000 employees, 585 business units around the world. How do you accelerate innovation in an ecosystem like that? And the answer is simple, one word: culture. Culture eats strategy for breakfast, excellence and innovation, intelligent automation, process mining are just side dishes. They're going to get chewed up by the jaws of culture, and they're going to get spit up. Okay? Nobody cares about your initiative if it is not aligned with the culture of your organization. So you must be empathetic to the culture of your organization, meet it where it's at, identify the key influencers in the organization that will help you make the changes that are necessary over time. And over a long period of time, you're going to be able to shift that culture by engaging the key influencers in the organization and by creating value to everyone involved. It's a simple recipe. It's very hard to execute. And you have to execute this over a long period of time, consistently with your purpose. And that is discipline. Now at Black & Veatch, an organization with more than 12,000 engineers across 110 countries, developing this incredibly complex infrastructure projects in energy, in water, in telecommunications. How do you accelerate excellence and innovation in an ecosystem like that? So I'd like you to show some evidence and some data to back up these concepts and principles. Because I always find it interesting when people talk about, oh, we're applying this in our organization, and they never really show me what the results look like. And everybody can get results in 6 months to 1 year. I want to see what your 10-year results look like when you do this. And I think you should demand that from anybody who comes to you and says, okay, I want to do a new initiative for you. I want to help you with this technology. Okay, wonderful, Jeff. Help me out here. But I want to see what your track record is for the last 10 years. A lot of people don't have much to show on that. because they are doing hypothesis testing with your organization. They don't know how it really works out. They're using your organization to experiment their theory, which is fine if you're willing to pay for their development, but you should ask for more than that. So over a 10-year period, what does it look like on some of these great enduring organizations? And specifically at Black & Veatch, for a 6-year period, we engaged the organization with methodology, with their ideas. We had lots of new ideas coming up, and we were getting value creation, okay? Over a 6-year period, what you see there on the bars is the actual earnings in millions of dollars that were being derived by these projects in the organization. And the green highlight on top of that bar represents the number of people who are engaged in this effort. And we did it typically. How do we do this? We went to HR and senior leaders in the organization and asked them, so who do you think are the leaders for, intelligent automation in our business, or for innovation for value creation? And what they did, they picked the list of the chosen people, right? That's what organizations do. Your HR has a high performance list of people there that was worked with the senior leaders. But the question is, do they really know? I think they have a pretty good guess to start with, but they don't really know. And a lot of those people are not the right people. You have to find who are the right people, and the right people are only revealed by the test of innovation, excellence and innovation execution. So, but we didn't know who the right people were, and I didn't have the capital reputation with the senior leaders in the organization to tell them what to do. So what I did is to conform. Okay, we implemented kind of a Lean Six Sigma program, world class, and we were getting good results. And we got to year 6, which is a lot than most of anybody who's in this call will ever experience in their career. Because what the data shows to us is that more than 50% of all organizations that embark on a journey of improvement and innovation as a discipline, after 3 years, between 18 months and 3 years, it's gone. Whatever happened, leadership changes, you were not really showing benefits. You became a bunch of bureaucrats because you know methodology, but you don't know how to create value for the organization. The communication was not good. A long host of a list of issues that happen. So that is at the 3-year mark. At the 5-year mark, 99% of the organizations that started an initiative like improvement, innovation, or intelligent automation for value creation, it's over, it's gone. And worse yet, they restart with a new name, or they restart with a new leadership. And what's going to happen to that? 3 years later, gone again. So we see this over and over again. And we got to year 6, we should be celebrating. We're part of the 1% club, but we didn't celebrate. What we said was the following. Okay, we're doing very well. I know our senior leaders are very happy, but I've been here for 6 years now. You know what? I'm going to push against my CEO, and I'm going to say that, listen, CEO, I believe that we should not focus on ideas and methods anymore. They are important. They exist. They're part of the system, but we need to find the right people in our organization. So who are these right people then? The people of purpose, passion, discipline, and resilience. To find these right people, we must create a meritocracy of ideas with clear execution mechanisms. And when you do that in a systematic way, and it's real, people will be tentative to start. So the question is, how can we create a system that creates the most value in the shortest time and simplest means? By identifying the right opportunities in the business, and you open that up for everybody. You make it voluntary, so that anybody can participate and they don't have to do anything. So what you see is, what we experience is that people are a little skeptical in the beginning. Well, I'm not sure if I'm going to engage on this because I don't know how it's going to work out now that I don't have to do it. Well, over time, what you've seen is that you're attracting the right people. People with purpose alignment, people with passion, people with discipline, people with resilience. And what we experienced was an exponential growth in value creation, and equally important, in voluntary engagement across the world. We went from 500 people to over 5,500 leaders of excellence and innovation on a voluntary basis. We increased value creation 8-fold. And we started helping over 100 organizations across all industries to do the same over what is now a 2-decade period. So the question, okay, well, this is interesting, José, but maybe that was just specific to that organization, right? Right, let's look at that from a different organization. Let's look at Endeavor, a Fortune 100 energy organization that wanted to go for extraordinary. So, okay, what does this extraordinary looks like? Well, it didn't look very good in 2010 when this journey started. This company was a $2 billion enterprise in its market value, which was right after the financial crisis of 2008. And really, the company was in very poor shape. Even though it was a $2 billion market value, that was less than the book value of the company at that time. And the path was not good. So there was a new leadership that came into the company that understood the principles of greatness and look at the company and say, hey, I'm not so sure what our competitive advantage is. So the ultimate competitive advantage that we can develop here in this very mature business is really revitalizing our culture along our core values. But you have to choose the right values, and you have to choose for a culture of value creation. No matter what values you bring as a foundation to that, you need to develop a culture of value creation. Okay, wonderful. So what this organization did, not over 1 or 2 years, but consistently over multiple years, is to establish a meritocracy of ideas with clear execution mechanisms accessible to all in the organization. Foster collaborative leadership development across all areas of the organization as a discipline. By 2018, 8 years into this journey, this organization was identifying, prioritizing, and implementing on an annual basis more than 2,000 innovations for value creation. These are not ideas. These are implementations of ideas that create value. It was over $1 billion in financially validated EBITDA for the organization. And okay, this sounds interesting. You can start debating the savings here, whether it's real or not. Let the market judge. By 2018, 8 years into this journey of excellence and innovation acceleration, the company's market value was at $35 billion. This is public information. This is what the market assessed on the growth that was happening in this organization at the top line and at the bottom line, by building a culture of excellence and innovation, focusing on the right people and following these 4 bullets that you see here. Now, so the message here is very simple. We can talk about ideas, we can talk about methodologies, we can talk about technologies all day long. For you to achieve enduring greatness, you must unleash the power of your people to go for extraordinary. If you were to zoom in each one of those pictures, you'd see me with hundreds of professionals around the world in this organization having the same discussion that we're having right now, and many more discussions over days, over months. But we're not playing the short game, we're playing the long game. Now, I'm gonna wrap this up by showing you some of the fundamentals behind this in a very fast mode on purpose, because this first portion is actually more important than the second portion. Even though for you who are like to focus on tactics, you're going to enjoy the second portion. But I'm going to tell you, if you don't get the culture side right, if you don't get a meritocracy of ideas with clear execution mechanisms, collaborative leadership development skills, innovation execution skills, none of the other stuff is going to matter. So let's go into the other stuff now. We are setting up intelligent business process management as a foundation. I'm not going to read what it is. You can do that yourself. But it's identifying the governance for end-to-end process development and ownership in your organizations. It's about understanding the maturity levels of processes and understanding that you don't want all of your processes to be optimized. You want most of the processes that you have, you probably shouldn't even have them because they don't really matter. You want to find your critical processes and you want to focus on them. And on those critical processes, at a very minimum, you must have them defined. And then you must have to make a decision on whether or not you need to elevate their maturity to manage and optimize, depending on the value creation return that you got from them. So you have to be a value creation leader above all. You're not a process leader. You're a value creation leader. Now, you also need to understand that as you innovate in your process maturity, there are multiple levels of innovation that you need to address. You have innovation at the core, you have adjacent innovations, which are extensions of the core, and you have disruptive innovations, which are disruptions to the business model. You must understand what type of innovation you're bringing to your processes or products or systems or any area of your organization. And the ratio that I share here with you is from the most innovative and successful organizations in the world. That's typically the ratio between core, adjacent, and disruptive innovations that they identify in their organization. Now, what are the pillars of success when you look at this intelligent business process for value creation? When you look at that, these organizations have three things that separate them from the rest. They have clear governance with defined roles and structure for intelligent business process management value creation. They have methods. They have Lean, they have Six Sigma, they have Agile, they have Scrum, they have ProSci, they have EdCar. They can have a multitude of methods, but here's what the successful ones have. They have one or two methods that they focus on, and those methods become a proven methodology and a guide for clear execution and execution mechanisms, and they become a common language for your organization. And the third one here is incredibly important. They have widely developed collaborative leadership skills and innovation execution skills for value creation. And what you do is that on each one of this, simply in summarized form, you're going to have governance that's going to look like governance in most good process improvement and innovation type of settings, where you're going to have a ownership established, you're going to have collaborative leadership established, you're going to have coaching for the teams, you're going to have a champion for those teams, and you're going to have a steering committee that's going to be guiding the program for your organization. Now, if you don't have this, all this other stuff that you're doing is going to fall apart. Yeah, you can do 2 or 3 projects, and that's it. It's going to die as low def. You need to build a basic governance structure that takes into account each one of these roles. Most of you are very experienced and know what these roles are supposed to do. Make sure you're following them. Make sure you have them in place. Now, you also need to have methods for discipline execution, like we discussed. We want to look at innovation as a discipline. You want to look at your end-to-end process ownership in your business process management. You want to implement Lean to increase speed and eliminate waste. And you want to use Six Sigma to reduce variation, satisfy customers. Those are all wonderful, and there are other methods that you can use. Those are the 4 most common methods that I see in the organizations that do it successfully over a long period of time. But I also wanted to remind you that methods alone do not transform businesses. The end game here is collaborative value creation and collaborative value creation leadership. That's what you're mining for in your organization. Because what you're going to see is that there is a maturity scale that organizations go through. Any organization can have like value creation done at the entrepreneur level. Okay, you can have some really smart person who can come up with a multi-million-dollar business, and you should be glad that if you're around those people, because they already have built-in passion, discipline, and resilience for whatever it is that they're doing. And these people, they can create multi-million-dollar businesses. They are wonderful entrepreneurs. Now, if you want to have a multi-billion-dollar business, that's usually not enough. You now need to scale the individual brilliance of that entrepreneur or entrepreneur. And you scale that individual brilliance in larger organizations by implementing systems and mechanisms that scale that individual brilliance. And the systems and mechanisms require governance, require a basic structure with clear roles and responsibilities, and may make use of growth and technology accelerators where you're experimenting with RPA and process mining and AI and drones and blockchain and whatever other exponential technology that you think can scale your business at its core, adjacencies, or in disruptive ways. But even these organizations, they are successful and become multi-billion-dollar organizations, which are now a much smaller group. They will never be multi-trillion-dollar organizations if they're not able to take the next step. And the next step, and the step that multi-trillion-dollar organizations take, is that they realize that for me to scale innovation for value creation at unprecedented levels, I must develop wide collaborative leadership skills and innovation execution skills. These are the ultimate skills for the multi-trillion-dollar organizations, and they are built on a clear purpose and a culture that has a strong set of core values that supports that purpose. This is easier said than done. This is the ultimate definition of discipline, consistency with your purpose. So please glean and learn from these amazing organizations and adapt these principles to where you are today with your organization. Start small and scale, because even the biggest multi-trillion organization today started very small and scale. That is your journey, not until your career is over. I would say that if you have purpose alignment, it's until the day you die. That's your journey. There is no retirement here. There are only two stages in life. You're either growing and you're dying. So choose the journey that will give you growth until the very end. Now, with that, let's look at one specific application. Since I don't have Q&A on this on purpose, I want to go show you some specific example to wrap up. This is intelligent business process management on energy infrastructure as an example. How do you start this thing? Well, you get your senior leaders, you get them in a room for a couple of days, and you talk to them about what are the key value creation processes in our organization. And you got them to agree on that, so that they develop a common mental model of our organization and how we serve our customers. And the green highlighted areas there are the very high level stuff, okay? And the blue stuff is supporting processes, and the maybe purple in that picture, maybe blue to the left are the strategic processes. But the point here is that you're creating a high level mental model of your organization on the processes that it uses to create value for your customers. Your leaders need to be part of this. And as you develop this with your leaders, you're going to realize you're going to have hundreds of sub processes, of course, on that behind each one of these high level processes. But you need to start the journey with your senior leaders and get them to understand this. And then you go to the next level. And as you do this in organizations, you're not process driven, you may be project driven. So how does that happen? How do I structure intelligent business process if my organization is project driven? Well, very good question. You need to, that's key for intelligent business process management. You need to realize that the project teams, they receive and apply the process knowledge, but they are riding on this train going 100 miles an hour. They do not want to redesign this train as they're going down the tracks 100 miles an hour. It will not be a good idea. So you, and I mean you, process owners and the teams that are looking across all the projects, they are identifying what are the best practices. They're identifying new technologies. They're identifying what's going to create the most value in the shortest time in the simplest means across all of these different projects that we're executing. And that interface is what intelligent business process management is about in a project-driven organization. So you must understand that. You must understand that execution excellence is connected to your process excellence through this interface where you have clear process ownership of the end-to-end processes that is supporting execution excellence across the enterprise. This is an important point to make here, because quite often organizations get confused because they say we're not a process-driven organization, we're a project-driven organization, we're an R&D-driven organization. Everything that we do is a process. So if you don't like the word process, eliminate it, choose something else. But the reality is that you need to make this connection of your execution with your end-to-end processes through this intelligent business process management approach. And then you need to bring a huge dose of simplification to everything that you do. Because when you get super smart people to solve problems, it's a disaster. Because what you all can do is the following. You have a really complex problem, and what you do is that you wrap this complex solution around it. Oh, let's use process mining on everything now. Well, that's not going to help you, okay? You need intelligence. Really, it's not about intelligence. It is about the vision to create positive change, and then the principles for creating positive change. And what those require you to look at that complex process or issue and not wrap a complex solution around it, but understand the essence of that complexity and that issue and address that with a simple solution, which is easier said than done because the world is complex. We are surrounded by complexity on everything that you do. And if you're good, you sit there wonder what needs to be added on my new on the financial report so that I can be great. But I want you to remind you that greatness is not achieved by adding things to systems. Greatness is only achieved when there is nothing left to take out. Because when you're at that level, you know now what the essence of the issue is, you know what the essence of complexity is, and if you focus on that, you're now going to have the path to greatness clear for you. Now, iBPM innovations, they require us to collaborate, they require us to eliminate, they require us to reduce, and only after we do those three things, we think about automation. Please be very careful with this, especially on this conference. This is about intelligent automation. So all that we want to do is that, oh, José, tell me how to do this API so that I can automate my procurement to process, procurement to pay, process. I mean, those applications are, the technology applications are trivial compared to the requirement for real collaboration with those players in those processes, and then a mindset of elimination first, reduction next, and only when you have the simplified essence of your process, you're going to automate that. And I'll go show you an example that if you don't do that in that order, it's a disaster. Here's a very tactical example that I want to share with you. Multi-billion-dollar organization doing multi-billion power plants around the world. And they have this, one of their key processes is valve control station design and construction on this very large power plant facilities. This is $1 billion power plants, and every one of them, you have to design, procure, and build 100 different types of unique and complex valve control stations. So what did we do? What did someone do in this organization? They came up to this as, oh, we have 120 different unique complex valve control stations. Here's what we're going to do. Let's give it to IT, and they're going to automate the process. Yeah, we're going to save a lot of money. 3 years later, IT did not have this process automated. Why? Because it's incredibly complex. It looks really simple when you look at the high-level diagram like this picture here. And we can sit down and say, oh, we have 120 designs per project. So let's go ahead and follow this process and automate the process. The devil is in the details. The process is executed differently by 120 different design teams in a single project. It's gonna take forever to wrap up that complex IT solution around this complex problem. So you don't automate that. What do? You start by collaborating. You bring the people who are collaborating around this process. In this case, there were key influencers in the organization in this process area. You bring them together and you say, hey, friends, we have 120 different designs for each valve station in this project. Do you think we could come up with a standardized design? And you know what happens? Everybody's going to say, yeah, very quickly. There will be 10 people around the table who nod their heads and say, yeah, we can standardize the design. But in their little heads, they're saying, and it's going to be my way. It's going to be my standard. And that relies the challenge. That's why collaborative leadership skills is so important, because now you have to work with this group so that you don't have 10 different standard designs, that you have a fewer standard designs. You go from 120 to fewer than that, but that they all can agree and buy in, because those 10 different designs, nobody would agree on in the long term and they would sabotage it. We need to find the number that is right for that group that they can agree on. And what they found out in that group is that there were 6 designs. There were 6 designs that they could agree on, tolerate, and live with. And when they did that, now a lot of the steps go away, because in the 6 standard designs, I can do 80% of the design on a standardized approach, which is pre-built, and then I spend the other 20% doing the customizations. And when I did that, we eliminated and reduced the complexity. We agree on 6 standard designs with the team. We implemented the 6 designs. We now have the flow, even at the high level, of those 6 designs, and they can be done 20 times faster, because now IT was able to implement an automated solution for that simpler process in 3 months. And now we're going 25 times faster, 20 times faster. Remember, please do not automate. Collaborate, eliminate, reduce, and then think about automation. Now, automation is kind of a romantic, sexy solution to problems, but it's not the right solution in most cases. And remember, it's not about ideas, not about methods, not about technologies. It's about the right people. The right people in your organization are people with purpose, passion, discipline, and resilience. And you have to teach them the right principles of excellence, the right principles of innovation for value creation. And then you need to teach them collaborative leadership skills. You need to teach them innovation execution as a discipline. And what you're going to find out is that everybody in the organization wants to point fingers, but nobody really wants to do anything because it's too risky for them to step out. And your job is to create a meritocracy of ideas with clear execution mechanisms and say, hey, anybody here can make a difference. Here is our meritocracy of ideas. Here is our method. Here's our execution mechanisms. And what you're going to find out is that a few people with courage will step up and say, hey, I'm interested. Can I learn more about this? Yes. Hey, Bill, come join us. We're going to teach you to solve problems in a different way. We're going to teach you to take different perspectives at problems, because in the mind of the expert, there's only one way. In the mind of the novice, there are many ways, and we're going to combine and blend the mind of the expert with the mind of the novice. And we're going to teach you collaborative leadership skills and innovation execution skills. But you know what? You still must have courage. And every one of you in this conference right now, you must have courage to lead, because the road ahead or the river ahead is dangerous and scary. You must mitigate and manage risks, but you still must display courage and lead. And your job, if you're a senior leader, is to create an environment where great people and great ideas can connect and allow people to step up, lower the risk and fear level in the organization, so that their courage, whatever level it is enough for them to get started. Start small and scale. Because none of us can predict the future. Only two types of people predict the future: those who don't know and those who don't know that they don't know. When you look at great enduring organizations, what they do is that they build their culture as their ultimate competitive advantage. And their culture is a blend of excellence and innovation that is built with consistent purpose, not over 1 or 2 years, over 5, 10+ years. And when you have that, now you're on your path to greatness. It's not an easy path, but it's a very rewarding path, not just for your profession, but for your life. Because I believe that when you find that path, you don't want to do anything else. Now, as we continue on this session, on the conference, and as we continue interacting in multiple levels, you can see my journey until the day I die on LinkedIn across hundreds of organizations around the world. And I hope that you can join us in that journey, and that you find the purpose that's meaningful to you, and then you align that with the purpose on your own journey. So we'll be wrapping up now. Everybody's going to be taking a break. I am going to stop sharing my presentation for now. I'm gonna change my hats back to the hats of facilitator and proud host of the conference. And as we do that, I want to set up our next speaker. And our next speaker is going to be fantastic. I'm talking about Kellen Harris, who is Director of Controls and Automation Engineering at Staples. And Kellen's going to share with us the journey that he has gone through, his own journey of excellence and innovation and the use of process mining. The title of his session is Identifying Business Opportunities with Process Mining and Successfully Translating that into Business Value. So again, thank you everyone for the participation in this session. I look forward to seeing you on the top of this hour with Kellen Harris and his journey at Staples.